Okay, I'm gonna read about sex, then the X-Men, and then witchcraft, and then failed jobs, and then sex. Alright. Growing up, like all fucking dorks, I loved the X-Men. Who didn't? Losers, that's who. Anyhow, I remember reading a vintage X-Men on the school bus to elementary school. This girl sold her mom's vintage stack from the 80s for like $1 each, and I was reading in the letters section, and I can't recall what issue it was, but I know it was from the mid-80s, and this woman had written in about her dead gay brother and made some connection after she went through his stuff after he died about him liking the X-Men so much, and I don't know how he related it to like being an outsider, and they printed the letter, and this had to be like the Reagan years or something, and I knew I was gay, and it formed another little queer synapse in my brain, like I was a superhero. Anyway, I stopped reading it for a while, for a couple years, and then these fags started this X-Men reading group in the Castro, and I joined, and I learned that the modern day X-Men is now set in San Francisco, as opposed to New York in the 80s. Y'all are like, what the fuck are you talking about? Anyway, I had been deciding to move to New York for a minute, but then when I found out that the X-Men lived here now, I decided to stay. This is no joke, but long story short, I had known this really hot stud for ages, and one night I texted him, will you dress up like Cyclops from the X-Men and fuck me? I decided that I would be like Jean Grey or Bishop or somebody, but after a night of doing a bunch of pills and drinking too much, I showed up to his house at 5 o'clock in the morning, and he answered the door dressed like Cyclops from the X-Men, and we boned. I wanted him to be my boyfriend, but I decided that I should probably leave well enough alone. Jobs. Anyway, I haven't worked since January, and I tried to get a job at Whole Foods, like, as a dishwasher, and the woman was like, what made you think that you're, like, qualified for this job? And I'm just like, I graduated from kindergarten, bitch, I'm hungry, just hire me, are you kidding me? Like, anyway, she asked me if I would shoplift, and I, like, paused, because, duh, shoplifting from Whole Foods? Yeah, are you kidding? I'll do it every day. But she saw that I paused, and she, like, didn't hire me, and I was bummed. Anyway, this is about working at Steamworks. I wasn't getting laid very much, so I started working at the local bathhouse. I showed up to the interview where the boss told me that he dug the way my jeans fit, and he asked me if I had problems with my father. He also told me that if I kept making eye contact with the customers, I would be everyone's favorite towel boy, and that horny old fucker wasn't whistling Dixie either. Within 1 week, I was boning down with twinks, tweakers, foreign businessmen, and my 51-year-old coworker whose dick was so big, I was convinced that I loved him. He knew a lot of stuff about bathhouses that I didn't know, like how most of them were closed down in the early 80s, but now as long as you have a sauna, you can license it as a men's only health club. I worked there with this son of a preacher, and he was kind of a liar. He told his preacher dad that he worked in a men's crisis center. This was shocking to me, a Christian in denial, never. But this little bitch seemed to be moving mountains with the power of his. I didn't have the heart to tell him that he worked in a fuck pit. Said it. And I asked him what he told his dad, and he said, well, men have to get off, and until they're due, they're in crisis. So I work in a men's crisis center. So dumb, right? After working there a while, the smell of butthole, which I once found refreshing and invigorating, made me want to kill. Not to mention all that mandatory work bullshit. Once a month, I attended work meetings where I learned how to effectively mop up jizz and how to properly dispose of crack pipes. In a couple of months I worked there, I only found one. Food critic. I got paid $200 to taste snack cakes. If I had a baby, I would have sold that motherfucker for this job. Sorry, Junior, you asshole. After each research meeting, I would walk a block away, light a joint, and be in unison with the universe. This job was 10 times cooler than losing my virginity, world peace, getting my cherry popped, or that first time I got high. Okay, lastly, witchcraft. I had an aunt back in Alabama who was a conjurer. She gave me a spell that, if done correctly, would reveal the nature of the universe around me. She instructed me to sleep in white sheets, wrap my head in white, don't have sex. Not have sex, I said, just for a day. I did all these things. In this dream, my life would be revealed. I did it all, and I dreamed of my wedding day. I looked up the stairs at the church with all the bridesmaids putting my wedding dress on that fake mannequin thing, and then for some reason my husband was in there too. And I almost ran up the stairs to put on my wedding dress when all of a sudden I got this thought in my head that was like, dude, fuck this. I ran up, grabbed the wedding dress, ran out of the church, threw the dress in the dumpster, and kept running. I woke up and knew exactly what that dream meant. I called that shitty diner I was working at and told those motherfuckers that I quit. Not a day later, I got a phone call from a marijuana dispensary that I had applied to. I got the job, $24 an hour just to clip pot. I hung up that phone feeling like God had given me a blowjob. Thank you.